I read 6 books in the month of February, so I figured that I would go through them and tell you what my thoughts were on them. The first book I finished in February was Kristen Hanna's The Women. This book was so good and also so hard to read. It's split in half. I did a small review on it earlier, but it's split in half, and the first half covers this woman's journey in Vietnam. So she is born to this upper class family, and they've always idolized the members of their family that have gone to war, and the expectation is that her brother will go to war. And so when her brother enlists, she decides that she wants to do her part, so she enlists as a combat nurse. And it follows her journey in Vietnam and all of the things she goes through, which is heartbreaking enough. And then the second half focuses on everything she has to face when she comes home, which, if you know anything about the Vietnam War, it was a very controversial war. Especially since most of the people who had fought in World War II were still alive. And so there was a lot of hero worship around that war, and there definitely wasn't around the Vietnam War. So it really encapsulates her struggles when she returns home and how to fit into this world that doesn't honor the veterans like they used to. It doesn't even acknowledge the women who were over there, and her trying to find her place in a society that doesn't value the opinion of women. So I don't really think any of that, I don't think that gives anything away. I think that's pretty much all covered in the book, or in the dust jacket. The other part that I really loved about this book were the relationships between our FMC and the other female characters. It was beautiful, and there is romance in it, but it's definitely a subplot. And the relationships that take center stage are the relationships that these women form while they are over there, and then how that carries throughout the rest of their life. And when you get into the really dark parts of this book, it is the friendship between these women that gets you going, that keeps you going through this book, where you're like, man, is this gonna get worse? So I think this is a really great book. I think I rated it 4 stars. For me, 5 stars it's the best of the best, vibes, everything. This is a really great book. I think a lot of people would rate it 5 stars. I thought it was great. And so I think it definitely earned its 4 stars. The next book that I read, I actually listened to on audiobook. It was James Islington's The Strength of the Few. I cannot even begin to describe how good this book was. James Islington has such a way of writing that you just get sucked in to the story so quickly. And the other thing that I love about his writing is he has so many impactful quotes throughout. They just blow my mind. I don't know how he does it back to back. I mean, because The Will of the Many blew my mind too. And I honestly did not think that The Strength of the Few would be able to kind of stand up to that one, but it really did. So if you haven't read The Will of the Many, The Strength of the Few is actually the second book in the series, in the Hierarchy series. And it follows a character named Vis, who is trying to figure out how to bring down the hierarchy, but he gets pulled into all these political machinations. There's found family, there's betrayal, and there's heartbreak. Oh my gosh, there's heartbreak. And it was so good. It was a long read, I will say that, but I really enjoyed it, and I don't want to give anything away, but if you've read it, then I will say that I enjoyed how the different POVs began to grow into their own characters, that their experiences began to change them. And it was so unique to see the core character, but how circumstances were beginning to change them. So I'll leave it at that. The other thing that he does really well are side characters. So many authors do a great job with their main character, and then side characters just kind of all fall in line, and you're like, oh, they're one of them. Not in his books. Each of his side characters is so unique and typically a little bit sarcastic, which just makes them stick out to you, and you begin to form the relationships that the main character does as well. And so that that raises the stakes, and it also makes it so hard when he lets a character go, because he is not afraid to do that. So I rated this one 4 stars, 4.5 if I'm being honest. But the only reason it didn't get 5, the only reason, is that I felt like there were too many loose ends. I would have liked a little bit more wrapped up, and I understand there is another book coming out, but I would have liked a little bit more wrapped up, a few more answers. It kind of felt like we just opened a can of worms, and you don't really know what's going on, where we're going with this, what's actually happened. So I don't know how much headway we made. We definitely made some, but I would have liked to have made more in this book. But even so, I felt like it was an amazing read. I highly recommend, if you're looking to get into high fantasy. James Islington he writes in such a way that it's really easy to get sucked in, so it doesn't feel like you're slogging through a lot of world building. The next book I read was The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. Okay, this one's a maybe for me. I do think it is the best of the 3 that I've read so far. So I started with Throne of Glass, mid for me, and then I went into The Crown of Midnight. It was good, but it didn't blow my mind away. It wasn't anything, outstanding. Assassin's Blade was probably the best in that it was the most unique, and it moved the fastest. I felt like the pacing was much better in this book, and that there was more payoff as you went along. And that might be because it's 4 novellas. It is 5 novellas and 1. They're all connected, but that kind of kept the pacing going a little bit more. What keeps me going are 2 things for this series. 1, my friend, who will not let me put these down. She is like, have you read the next one? Have you read the next one? Have you read the next one? I'm like, I'm working on it. And the other thing is Aelin. I love Aelin. Even though I didn't think the first and second book were that great, I love her character. Sarah does such an amazing job creating a character that is so unique in that she's strong, she's vain, and she's arrogant. And she's aware of it. And she's unapologetic about it. And I love that. It really makes this character just... She is so great. I love the different descriptions where, a character will be like, well, why don't we just rough it? And she's like, I mean, I can, but I don't want to. And I agree with that. And I love that. I love that she acknowledges that she could beat anyone in the room. And at the same time, she's like, and I want to wear pretty dresses because I'm beautiful. I'm like, yes, this is so great. I just get kind of tired of FMCs, especially in fantasies, who are like, oh, I just prefer to run in the woods, or, oh, I've been training for 5 minutes and I'm the best, or I don't even know. The ones who are like, oh, I didn't realize I was the best, or I didn't know. And you're just like, okay, I mean, humility is good, but arrogance is so fun. And I absolutely love it. So the series and the plot, I have been told it's going to get better. But the character is keeping me going. So I will let you know if it all pays off in the end. The next book I read was The Magpie Murders by Anthony Horowitz. So this is one I bought a long time ago. And it was when I was working at a used bookstore. And I'm not gonna lie, I bought it for the cover. And the saying, never judge a book by its cover. Yeah, it's true. Because this book, this book. So I love everything British. Okay, I love watching the BBC. I especially love like old country murders and, you know, the Agatha Christie, all of that. So I start the book off and it's supposed to be like a mystery within a mystery. So an editor is reading a manuscript of her best-selling author who writes books that are very similar to Agatha Christie. I'm like, okay. So it opens with chapter 1 and she has the manuscript and she starts reading. And then the book jumps straight into this other book. And that's what it is for the first half of the book. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's different. Because I kind of thought it was going to flip back and forth. You know, she'd be reading the book, she'd find something, and then it would go back to the manuscript. That's what I was thinking. Okay, that's not what it was. So you start reading it and you get into it, and it says at the front, you know, this author is very reminiscent of Agatha Christie, and there are definitely those vibes. But as I'm going through it, I'm like, wait a second, that's a plot from Midsomer Murder. Well, hold on, that was like a major thing in that Midsomer Murder episode. I mean, a different one, but still a Midsomer Murder episode. I'm like, does this author think nobody's seen Midsomer Murder? And there's like 4 different things where I'm like, what? I've read this. And they weren't exact copies, but like the major things in them, I was able to guess what some of these side plots were, because I was like, well, if it's the same as the Midsomer Murder, then I already know what's going to happen. So that had me really frustrated, and I almost DNF'd it for that. I was like, okay, if it's falling asleep, I've already seen this. Why would I keep reading it? And then it gets to the end, and right before you find out who did it, the manuscript ends. And then the second mystery picks up. And in the second half, you're following the editor, and she's trying to solve this other crime using the manuscript. But they mentioned like 3 times that this editor is a huge fan of Agatha Christie and Midsomer Murder. They've watched all the Midsomer Murder episodes. And I was like, okay, well, wait, is that part of the plot? Is that part of like what I need to help figure it out? And I thought, oh, maybe it's worth it. Okay, so I keep reading. And the Agatha Christie part of it plays a part, but Midsomer Murder never comes back into it. And so you get to the end, and the mystery was good. I mean, I didn't guess who it was. I wasn't blown away by who it was, but I didn't guess it. I think the biggest thing where I was like, yes, I figured it out, is I get to the very end, and it was in the author's note, I think. That's what it was. Let me look. Yeah, in the about the author section, it says that as a television screenwriter, he created Midsomer Murders, and I was like, thank you. Oh, finally. That's stupid. I'm like, you already wrote it. They were great. If you want to plug your book or your TV series once, maybe twice, fine. You know, I understand that. But to pull the same plots and to throw it in there like 5 different times, like, come on, the series stands on its own. You don't, is this a mystery or a PR piece? Like, that's all I'm asking. So for me, I did not feel like it was that good. It was more frustrating than satisfying. And I think it was way longer than it needed to be, honestly. So I would put this, I think I put this one at like 3 stars, just because if you like that Agatha Christie vibe and that English country, mystery feel, sure, then you might enjoy it. But read it for the vibes. Don't read it for this great mystery, because that's just not what this is. And if you've never read it or you've never watched Midsummer, then it won't bother you. It won't be a problem. Wolf by Paisley Hope. I was so excited about going into this book. I've heard so many good things. And I got like 30% through. And I was loving it. I was like, okay, we got the good girl. We got the biker club. Ooh, this is gonna be good. And then it hit that 30% point and it just took a nosedive. I struggled to the end of it. I did finish it, okay? But it was a struggle. And the thing is that I know my 20-year-old self would have loved this. If I could time travel back to my 20s, I would hand this to myself and say, enjoy, because you won't like it in 10 years. And I do understand why. I have grown as a person and as a reader. So where, I grew up with Twilight, and, you have that broody male who's like, you need to do what I'm telling you to keep you safe, and you're hungry, you need to eat. And you're like, oh my goodness, I completely forgot to eat. Yeah, I don't like that anymore. Don't tell me what to do, okay? I'm not your plaything. I am your partner. And that's what I look for in romances now. I want an MMC who is going to treat her like a partner. Now, do I like the whole protect her thing and the, touch her and die thing? Absolutely. I eat that up all the time. But what I'm starting to like more is when he's like, I'll let her at you. She'll do more to you than I could. I'm like, yeah, that's right. You know you're a woman. That wasn't this though. It was just insta-lust. It was insta-lust. The two characters saw each other, and within 2 days, we're doing it. And I'm like, wait a second. So you're this super good girl who, has been warned to never associate with this group, but you're immediately going to jump into bed with this guy? Huh? And then this guy is supposed to be a notorious player. He's slept with every woman under the sun, but something about her is so different, and he is instantly obsessed with her. But for no reason. He doesn't know her. Is she beautiful? Sure. But that's it. That is literally it. And so that just doesn't do it for me anymore. Also, there's a scene where he's like, you will eat. And she's like, I don't want to eat because I want to do this. And then he ties her up and force feeds her. No, this one got 2 stars from me. Okay. I was able to force my way through. Were there some fun elements? A few, which is why I gave it 2 stars. So, I mean, if you're in your 20s and you like, you just want to, I don't even know where to place this. If you just want something quick, easy, and you're just looking for a smutty good time, then I'd recommend this. But otherwise, there's better out there. And the last book I read was Atomic Habits by James Clear. I really enjoyed this book. I felt like it did such a great job of just getting into details about how to make small changes in your life and, the long-lasting impacts that can have. So, I don't want to go into too much detail on it, but because it basically does what it tells you it's going to do. But what has really blown my mind is that books like this, you think that you're like, yeah, I know that. Absolutely. But then when you start getting into it and you actually start looking at the things that you do and the habits that you've formed, you're like, oh, well, I didn't think of it like that. I really enjoyed my journey of reading nonfiction and just getting more into that. So I look forward to just kind of continuing this because so far most of these have been pretty good, and I have been able to get through them better than I thought. And I think that goes back to my growth as a reader. So even 2 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to read a nonfiction book. I just didn't have the brain width to do it because there were so many other things going on in my life. And I just felt like when I read, I needed to shut my brain off. And now, when I sit down to read, I enjoy challenging my mind. I have enough things that are, going well, knock on wood, that it's reading can now be, it's enjoyable, but it's also meant to be something that helps me grow as a person while I'm doing a hobby that I enjoy. So, all that to say, I did really enjoy this. I ranked it 4 stars. I thought it was good. So, yeah, I highly recommend, especially if you're looking to make changes in your own life. So, those are the books that I read in February. I'd love to know some of the books that you read and whether you agree with my ratings. So please like and comment below. And if you haven't already, I'd love for you to subscribe so we can get more videos like this. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you next week.